can see now, this is what we're left with. It actually looks pretty good as it is already, but we'll need to get this going. We'll need to get this going. Yep, that's my shadow. Actually looks pretty good. So we'll now have to start preparing the dehydrator to start loading it. So this is my dehydrator. I normally just put it in my laundry corner. The brand is Autumn's, A-U-T-U-M-N-Z. That's basically, at least in my region, it makes a lot of good baby stuff. Well, I wouldn't say it's the Porsche of baby stuff, but yeah, so it just comes like this, simple trays, and it just comes with one fine tray, unfortunately, and all the rest of them are like this, huge holes. So this is not suitable for meat, so I'll show you what I normally do. And we have to basically make layers to paper, greaseproof paper, to stop the meat from falling through, because this is good for fruit, but it's terrible for meat. Alright, so it's been about half an hour of cooling time, and I can basically touch it. It's probably about, I don't know, 30 degrees centigrade, or even cooler maybe, I don't know. It's really cool. Yeah, it's probably about 25-30 degrees centigrade. So, what to do next? Well, cut pieces of greaseproof paper to cover up the gigantic holes in my dehydrated tray. And the next thing I need to do is get a fresh, nice big spoon. And now comes the part of just dishing it out onto every single tray. Don't be too worried about getting it very, very thin single layer. You can stack it a little bit thick. Work at it. Keep it from the edges so it doesn't fall over, more importantly than the exact height, because the hot air will be able to work its way through. So that's when I first started using this, I was very careful just to make it like super thin layer, and basically I could practically see the paper through it and stuff like that, you know. But eventually I realized that it doesn't really matter, and I've done this a number of times, and I realized even the thickness like this, you really can't see the paper through the layer of meat. It's still absolutely fine. It dehydrates well enough, and if you can fit it into less trays, then there's less volume for the hot air to go through, and it'll be better for your dehydrator. So that's one. For the last one, it has this screen. I'm just gonna leave it with the screen. I'm not gonna use too much effort. I don't need the paper for that. The only thing is, when you reach the last one, you're dealing with all the little bits and pieces now. The screen will catch it, it'll just fall through. One other reason why I like to use the wok is because, as you can see, I'm scooping and depositing it in trays, right? And it's falling out, and it doesn't really bother me because the wok is acting like a catch-all. And later, once I'm done dehydrating, I'll basically use the wok again just to toss it all out and catch it, and then I'll gather it from here and put it in whatever receptacle. I normally just use a Ziploc bag, freezer bag, and then toss it in the freezer. I know, yeah, it's technically shelf stable, but my environmental temperature here ranges between 25 and 32 degrees, so it is quite warm. But yeah, that allows me to keep this dehydrated meat indefinitely. Yeah, and there you have it. Everything, not much rest to clean, just soak this with a little bit of water and it'll come right out. And that's the last tray. Make sure you get the one with the cap, not the true hole for the last tray. That's the one that covers up and pushes the air properly through everything. If you have this somewhere at the bottom, all the trays above it will not get any hot air because this will stop it. Right, I'm going to put this on the stack and I'll bring you over there. Alright, so my dehydration corner is basically my little laundry corner. So the lighting here is actually quite poor. But anyway, I've got my headlamp on, just a little bit of light. So switch it on. And this needs to be set. Normally meat is done at about 63, so mine is increments of 5. So I'm doing it at 65 and it does 6 hours, but I normally just max it out. Is mine 12? No. What was that? 24 hours. And it should kick in. There we go. So that's the hum of my dehydrator. I basically leave it for 24 hours because I'm going to go to sleep now and I'll come back later on and check on meat tomorrow once I've woken up. The thing is, if you read some instructions, they'll say meat is done at 63 degrees C for about 4 to 6 hours, and basically that should, and what was I want to say? Oh right, they'll ask you to blot out any fat drippings once or twice during the period. The thing is, with this kind of meat, which is so lean, there really is no need to do that. So now all I have to do is just let the dehydrator run. And as you can see, the height of my meat, there's always some gap between each one. There's it's a little bit high here. I might adjust this later. Just push it around with a spoon, and everything else has a lot of air gap. But yeah, this will run by tomorrow morning. It should be dry, and by then we'll have a nice bunch of dehydrated meat to keep as backup. Well, we'll see in the morning what happens. Oh, and one more thing, it's from the time we started to the time we have actually put in the dehydrator and ready to wash up the dishes and, well, hit the hay for meat. It's been 1 hour and 15 minutes total to process, to cook, dry out, cool down and stack the dehydrator. So 1 hour and 15 minutes excluding defrosting time, which took another half an hour. So that's a total of 1 hour and 45 minutes from the time that you start taking the stuff out of the freezer to the time you are here sitting down and looking at a nice stack of meat. So that should give you an idea. I hope it gives you an idea of how long it takes and how much time you need to allocate when you're... Okay guys, so basically I actually put the skimmings or the water that we took out from the meat in a grease pot and tossed it in the fridge, and this is the amount of fat that was taken out. Basically, as you can see, it's really not much at all. So this meat is really lean, and that's all the fat that rendered out of the meat as we were steaming it.